Hey everyone, it's Christian from Quantum Marketing, coming back with another Google Analytics tutorial. Today we're going to be covering the acquisition tab. This tab refers to how users get to your website, either from social media links, affiliate links, referrals, blog websites, and your ads. With a lot of customization tools, this report is very important when you're reviewing your website metrics, and I'm excited to go over with you guys. Let's get started. The first tab we're going to go over is the overview tab right below the acquisition. Once you open up the acquisition tab itself, a lot of the things here, it give you a general screenshot of what you're trying to look for, covering all your default channel groupings like organic, referral, direct, display, paid search. And we're going to go over those and some of the other tabs as they go a little bit more in detail within it. But if you need a quick screenshot of what your website is running through, this is a perfect report to go over with it. Make sure you change the conversions based on what you're more interested in. For example, obviously a purchase completed would not be the same as just a registration. You definitely would consider purchase completed a lot more important to your business's goals rather than a registration. When you're going over these things, it also makes like a nice reporting detail. So if you just need to report this to a client, this is definitely also a way to go. Just taking a quick screenshot or exporting it to a PDF would definitely get the job done. So one of the other reports that I use in the acquisition tab, that's one of my most used reports anytime I'm going to Google Analytics, this is the first report I tend to go to, is under the alt traffic tab here, and it's going to be channels. Now the channels reporting is really essential to when I'm reviewing over my metrics. It kind of helps me decide where I want to put a business's resources in when I'm deciding on which channels are providing the most engaged prospects. So when we go down here under the default channel grouping, we have organic search, referral, direct, display. All of these are completely customizable within the settings. We're going to make another video on that soon enough. But to just show an example here, we can see organic search has covered about 6,500 users, so on and so forth. There's a bunch of other metrics. And one of the key things here is, you have an acquisition section. You have already a summary of the behavior from that channel grouping, and you have a section dedicated to the conversions from that channel. One of the main things that I'd love to go through would be the conversion section right here. You can change around based on your Google Analytics conversion tracking. You can go through each channel and see where the most of a certain action is coming from. So for this example, obviously purchase completed is a lot more valuable to us compared to registrations. So when we're going to select it here, we're going to see an updated table, and it'll kind of give us an idea of where we should put more of our resources. So in this example, organic search has brought in about 18 completed purchases. Now, comparing to all these other channels, that's really great. I want to put now more resources into SEO because I know a lot of people are just organically searching for us. Obviously, you can do some digging into what keywords they're looking for in the Search Console reports, but this is already a great start. You can now tell them, okay, maybe it's time to look into maybe outsourcing someone for SEO, or doing it yourself with a couple blogs and keyword research here and there. And it's kind of these things that we find in this report that really help us know where to dedicate our resources into. This website in particular doesn't have anything in paid search, so there's not much data to even work with initially. But if we were to see, opposite effects between paid search and organic search, then we know we'd want to put more money into our search ads, if that's where the bread and butter is. And this table also lets you do a lot of things outside of just this generic default channel grouping. The reality is I think all of these other tabs and acquisition can be covered just in this table alone. And that's what's changing the primary and secondary dimensions. If you have UTM tracking set up on all of your links, instead of following, the default groupings that they give you, you can just look at straight from source and medium with the primary dimension here. And it's a really great tool to look at these things if you don't have your channel grouping set up already. And you can see here, Google Organic, again, that's basically where the organic search was. So it makes sense for it to be at the top here. Direct on second best, so on and so forth. And it kind of goes down to, all the links that you have out there in the internet. Anywhere they're coming from on your website, it'll be tracked right here. And then there's a bunch of other sections that you can play with outside of source and medium. Campaign is going to be another widely used UTM variable within your link. If you have your campaign link UTM set up, then this would definitely be helpful. In this case, there's no campaigns actually for organic search. So a lot of it's going to be set to not set, and we know organic search had the most traffic, most transactions. So it's not going to show us much data in here, but when you're running Facebook ads, when you're running Quora ads, any of those other things, when you have them UTM set, you can keep better track of each campaign when you have them properly labeled. And that's one of the key things that I want to push forward to you guys, is to make sure your links are UTM tagged so that analytics becomes a much more powerful tool for you when you're reviewing these kinds of things. So back to default channel grouping, we're gonna go here. Source and medium, same thing. To kind of cover some of these metrics, acquisition. So this is your generic, how many people are coming from your website. Users, so there's 13,000 users. This will explain unique users in total. So you had 12,997 users. Based on that, the new users, there are 11,229. This dictates from the time frame that you put in comparing to the week before. So, or the previous period, it'll compare how many of those were new users or were they repeat users into this time frame. And then next is sessions. A user can have multiple sessions. Usually sessions reset after 30 minutes of inactivity with the website. So it can either be maybe someone left on your website, entered, didn't do anything, 30 minutes passed, they could have started a second session, or they just went back to your website after initially contacting your web, or initially messing with your website. Behavior, this kind of gives you a summary of what to expect in kind of the behavior acquisition tab, or behavior Google Analytics tab. Bounce rate, so this would be when a user enters your website, does absolutely nothing, and then leaves. They've not interacted with your website, they didn't click anywhere, they didn't click a form, they didn't click to view anything extra in a drop down menu or anything. They just entered and left. So it's general overview, it's best to see this to be, you won't ever see this really below 25%. 25% is probably one of the best bounce rates you're ever going to get. There's always going to be faulty people going in and just leaving immediately, either misclicking an ad, misclicking a search engine, or they just did not see what they needed and instantly left. So 25% is what your goal is going to always be, to have almost a perfect bounce rate. If you see anything below that, I definitely recommend rechecking your tracking, because there might be some issues going on. Either you have a duplicate analytics tags on your website that might be double counting people, or there's maybe you're forcing people to do an action beforehand, which depending on your marketing funnels will dictate if it's a good idea or not. But bounce rate will definitely help you let you know, is your website engaging enough right from the start to get them interested into your services. Pages per session, self-explanatory. How many pages are going per session they go in. So on average, a user will go through 4.75 pages, almost 5 pages every time they enter your website. And average session duration, how long they're spending on your website on average. So almost 30 minutes here. This conversions tab also gives you a quick look from the conversions tab in Google Analytics overall. So you can kind of get a brief view of, by the default channels or the source and medium or the campaigns. And obviously it's an easy drop down menu here to change those. So when you're looking through this, you already know the value you've given to these Google Analytics goals. Unless you've already pre-assigned them, or if you're running an e-commerce shop, you can assign the goals yourself and give them a value at this last tab here. But for now, we're going to focus on these two ones: the goal conversion rate. So if I put in e-commerce, if I put in e-commerce, it'll show you the e-commerce conversion rate. It's simple enough like that. If I put in all goals here, it'll combine all the goals together, put them all into one section, and then give you the conversion rate off of that. So you can see Google Organic is really 741 conversions total for about a 9.9 conversion rate. Now, comparing to the average, it's a little bit below the average of the whole site overall, but it's still a big chunk of change for how many users it's brought in. Almost 3 times more than the next best source and medium that has brought in traffic to your website. So these are kind of the metrics that you're going to want to look at to dictate, okay, well, Google Organic obviously has a pretty decent conversion rate. Only 2% off of the average of your whole website isn't the worst thing ever. It's got some pretty high behavior metrics. So, almost 4 pages a session from someone that came from organic, and 2 minutes and 30 seconds spent on my website. With all these metrics, and you can include the e-commerce conversions, it's kind of a no-brainer that you're going to want to push a lot more money into Google Organic. But when you're seeing this, you may think also, hey, maybe paid search is also the way to go if you're not already advertising in that channel. For example, this website where they have almost no budget towards that. You can think a lot of people are getting to my website from Google, and it makes sense. It's a Google merchandise store. You'd want to put more budget into PPC or at least expand into start running ads into PPC because you think there could be a market of value to you as a business owner when you're targeting. Another tab that's also useful if you are running Google PPC ads will be the Google Ads section under acquisition tab. So in most cases, if you've already linked your Google Ads account into your Google Analytics, then it'll just appear campaigns. In this example, they have multiple accounts. You can see here 2 different accounts that are running it. So in their case, they're gonna have this extra tab called accounts. This is not really necessary. As long as you're running one account and it's already linked to your Google Analytics, that's completely fine. You don't really need to connect multiple Google Ads accounts unless you really have a whole different strategy in mind of running, you know, maybe international wise. You'd want to have multiple accounts targeting for each different country, like Spain, Ireland, United States, Mexico, kind of in that regard. But in regards to this, most people will just have the campaigns tab, and that's completely fine too. It'll just show you a brief rundown of what your what analytics metrics are there for your Google Ads campaigns. And I'm gonna just expand the time frame here to be from April till now, so we can hopefully see some more metrics. And there you go. So there's a large spike in April, end of April to about early May, so probably last 2 weeks or so. And you can see this campaign that was in my Google AdWords account brought in about 1,000 clicks at a cost of $254. So we're only spending about 25 cents per click, and that's not terrible. I mean, that's a really good cost per click, very low numbers. I think the biggest thing we're going to want to see is if it brought any revenue to us, and we're going to actually change the conversions tab to be e-commerce to look more in depth on that. And you see now 4 transactions for a value of $206. So this is where we can decide, okay, is Google Ads going to be worth it? Because if I spent $254 on only making back $206, and if you are running an e-commerce store, obviously there's going to be cost in manufacturing and producing these products, then you're really in the negative now with Google Ads. So this may not be the best approach if you're running this, or you're gonna have to do some serious modifications on your Google Ads account so to make sure that you're making an ROI on your money that is being spent in Google Ads. Another thing to look at, again, always is, you know, they include the behavior metrics in here. If you've linked both your Google Ads and your Google Analytics accounts together, you can also view these metrics all in Google Ads. It'll provide itself there as long as you make the right columns when you're viewing the table data. But looking over here, also you can see, you know, this other AdWords campaign has $83 spent and made about $45. So the reality is we're still not making money, and that's even a heftier loss than the first campaign. So maybe Google Ads isn't the right approach for them. It depends on so many different things of what your Google Ads account is set up to be. You know, are you running display campaigns? Are you running YouTube? Are you running just search? Are you running search and display? Are you doing remarketing? What kind of keywords are you targeting? Is it right for your company? There's so many things to think about, but that's a lesson for another day. The reality is Google Analytics though will show you some of the brief numbers from your Google Ads account into the Google Analytics dashboard. So we jumped over to a different account to actually show you what the Search Console report is, as the Google Merchandise Store did not have Search Console set up. Basically, Search Console links with your website. You kind of provide site mapping. It'll provide you with performance issues, mobile friendly issues, or anything in that regard to kind of help you make sure your website is at its best peak as it can be. You can actually link it with your Google Analytics account as well. And to show you where you get that report, it's also in an acquisition tab. You're gonna go to Search Console here, and I think the most important one out of all these is gonna be your queries. Everything else can kind of be found out with the other tabs, and Search Console will limit you to kind of more just the organic traffic that comes to your website. So going to queries here, it'll kind of break down you how people are going to use your website from the organic keywords they're typing in. So this kind of helps you dictate which main keywords you want to focus on in your blog if you're doing that to rank your SEO. In this case, the company's name is Epic Fun. So Epic Fun is going to be the main keyword that brings them to their site. There's a few other things that some of their services, like Axe Throwing Austin is a really big one. One of their main services that they provide for entertainment is axe throwing, and being listed for axe throwing up here already and having a lot of engagement and traffic coming in from there shows that they're doing right with their website and to bringing in traffic using that type of keyword. Obviously, another big one will be location wise. You know, you can see Oak Hill is here, Texas, Austin, Another search they have is birthday parties. So this kind of gives you an idea of where you're ranking for with your organic rankings and your keywords that you're targeting there, and to see if you're doing them efficiently or not. Obviously, you can see what the amount of impressions there are. You can see again the click-through rate and your average position, which again will be based on Google's SERPs, the search engine results page. This will kind of show how well you're ranking for those keywords. They're 3.9 in the Epic Fun category. Maybe they're higher in specifically if you write Epic Fun Texas Austin, Epic Fun Austin kind of thing. You can see 3.8, 4.2, 1.3 here for Epic Fun birthday parties. So there's a lot of things that go into ranking for organically on Google. But this kind of gives you a general rundown of what keywords are being used to find you if they are coming from an organic Google page. And that really covers all the main reports that I use when I'm reviewing over my website metrics in the acquisition channel. There's a lot of different features in this tab, so it's best to really take advantage of them, because knowing where your traffic is coming from, I think, is one of the most vital things to your website. It lets you know where to put your resources into, and it lets you know if you're doing something wrong in one area that can be improved, or to focus kind of just bringing an uplift to all your marketing channels that you're advertising to, or just being primed on like social media organic or social media ads, paid search ads, SEO in that regard. That really covers everything. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you keep up to date with us with our next videos. See ya.